2009 Audi A5 2.0 TFSI. This was Audi's first attempt at making a coupe, and they did an amazing job. And 15 years later, it has become a seriously underrated sports car. Whether you got the 4.2 liter V8 or the 2 liter inline-4, you would be guaranteed to have a smile on your face driving this thing around. Today, I'll be showing you all the reasons why this car is truly special and why you should consider getting one. Okay, now before we get into the video, I just want to take a moment and thank this channel's sponsor, and that's you. Thank you so much for getting this channel to 1,650 subscribers. It really means a lot to me. I also want to take a moment to thank my friend Uroš for letting me review his car. Thanks, Uroš. And if you've got a cool car I could review, then please get in touch with me, especially if you're near Serbia. I'd love to review your car. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so first a little overview of the Audi A5. In the intro, I said that this was Audi's first real attempt at making a coupe. And that's very true, because the last coupe Audi made before this debuted in 1988. And it was literally called the Audi Coupe. The A5, however, debuted in 2007 for the 2008 model year, and it came in 3 different versions. First, you had the coupe model, which we have here. It's the 2-door. Then you have the cabriolet, which was basically the same car, only with a fabric soft top roof. And then finally, there was the A5 Sportback, which was a 4-door coupe model. And fun fact, the Sportback actually shared the interior with the Audi A4, not the A5. It was much more similar to the A4 in every way except the outside styling cues. Okay, now getting into the styling of this car, I think Audi did an amazing job. It looked good 15 years ago when it came out, and it still looks good today. This car kind of marked the beginning of a new era for Audi's design team, because this is when they started moving from their more obloid shaped designs to their more aggressive straight line designs that we know at Audi for today. And Audi's design team at the time must have been under a lot of pressure, because this car had to compete with the E92 BMW as well as with the W204 C-Class Coupe from Mercedes, which were both beautiful cars and already established on the market. Now let's talk a bit about the exterior styling quirks of this car. And first up, it's the headlights. The standard headlights in this car were actually halogen, but you could upgrade to these bi-xenon headlights with this daytime running light LED strip. And this makes the car look a lot younger than it really is. Now, sadly, for the 2008 and 9 models, in the back you have these halogen taillights, which don't really look that modern. For the 2010 model year, Audi updated these taillights to LEDs, and they look a lot more modern and make the car seem younger, just like the headlights in front. And from 2012 onwards, they updated them to an even more LED design, which just looks amazing, and that taillight still stands for me as one of the best Audi taillights ever. And here's another lighting quirk. When you open the car door at night, there's this light right here which lights up to let other drivers that are passing by know that you're opening your door, so they don't accidentally run into you. Usually other cars would just have reflective stickers here, but Audi decided to put in a full light. And while we're here, I do want to mention that this car has frameless windows, which makes it just that much cooler. Now here's another interesting quirk. You know how in basically every car ever made, in order to open the hood, you have to do a latch in the driver's footwell, and then you spend the next 10 minutes trying to find a hood latch underneath the hood? Well, Audi made this very easy, and it's just in the middle right here, and you just pull the hood up in order to release it. It's very interesting they made it this way. It's almost like they knew you would be lifting the hood on this car a lot. Now let's discuss the drivetrain of this car. Underneath the hood of the A5 2.0 TFSI is, like you'd expect, the 2.0 TFSI engine. It's a 2-liter inline-4 petrol engine with a turbo. That's what the T in TFSI stands for. From the factory, this engine makes 208 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, and it does the 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds, which is adequate. Now the thing about this engine is that it has a lot of tuning potential, and just with a simple tune, you can get around 260 horsepower out of it, just like this car's owner has done. Now when it comes to the transmission options, you can either get the 6-speed manual like this car has, or there's a 6-speed automatic called the Tiptronic, or you can get the 7-speed dual clutch transmission called the S-Tronic, and there's a CVT transmission called the Multitronic. Now which one you should get depends on your driving style. If you want to enjoy the ride, you should get a 6-speed manual like this car has. If you don't want to shift gears, you should get the 6-speed automatic, the Tiptronic. If you want to go fast, you should get the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. And if you want to have regrets for the rest of your life, you should get the CVT. Now personally, I enjoy the feel of the 6-speed manual in this car, but if I didn't want to shift gears in my Audi 2.0 TFSI, I definitely wouldn't mind the 6-speed Tiptronic automatic transmission. Now one really important thing with these cars is that there were no rear-wheel drive models. All of these cars were either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, the quattro models. And if I had to choose, I would definitely get the quattro version, because having 260 horsepower underneath your front wheels is just like having 2 gas pedals. It's really unnecessary. Now before we get inside, I just want to touch on the key situation. Here's the key to the car. It's a key fob, and there's a little key hidden inside. And I know I mentioned this in every car video, but I really love it. If you hold down the unlock button, the windows start to roll down, and this is really helpful on those hot summer sunny days where where you just want to let some heat out of the car before you get in. Okay, now before we get into the car, let's just see how the door sounds when you close it. Amazing, very sturdy. I like that. This is actually the same door that they use on the convertible models, and it has to be really sturdy to protect you from those side impacts because the convertible model doesn't have any of this. Now, getting into the A5, it just feels really sporty in here. For example, the S-line seats in this car have these very strong side bolsters, and they really hug you in corners and give you a sporty feel while you're driving. And then the sporty feel continues with the steering wheel right here, which is this 3-spoke design. It's perforated leather, it fits perfectly in your hand, and it even has these multimedia touch controls on the side. And even the gear shifter looks and feels really nice in your hand, and it even has a bit of a shorter throw than what you'd get in your standard manual car. Now, the interior of this car is also very quirky. For example, you might think that you only get one cup holder, but if you pull the armrest back, you can reveal the other cup holder for your passenger. And there's this compartment right here where you can put your phone, and Audi actually future-proofed this because back then phones were a lot smaller, but even today's phones can fit in here. Now, of course, you get some storage in the actual armrest, and there's a pretty spacious soft open glove box as well. You can see how it just falls down, very elegant, and it's separately lockable with the key. Now, right here above the glove box, there's this aluminum looking plastic badge right here. It says Audi. It looks very premium. It doesn't say Audi A5, so your passenger can know what brand of car they are, but not which model. And it's also nice for the glove box latch that they also went with this aluminum looking plastic. They could have just left it black plastic, but they went all out. And in this car, you also have sunglasses storage right here. If you press this button, your sunglasses pop open. And this is probably more useful for the Cabrio version, but the Coupe gets it as well. Also with this car, your rear passengers get an electronic sunshade. That's really surprising. With how tiny the back seats of this car are, I wouldn't really expect Audi to care about the backseat passengers, but they really did. Okay, now let's talk infotainment quirks. In the infotainment, there are these 1, 2, 3 very similar looking knobs. And at first I wanted to make fun of that and say that there's probably going to be a passenger who's going to want to lower the volume, but instead they lower the fan speed. Now, in reality, it's actually very intuitive because this is the main infotainment control. And with this, you control which radio you want to listen to or which destination you want to go to. Now, the second knob right here is for the volume control. And the reason why it's positioned to the right of the shifter is because you already have the volume control on your steering wheel right there. So this is more so for the passenger to control. And then this third knob is actually the AC controls. And it's very fun in this car because how it works is first you select what you want it to do. For example, fan speed right here. And then it shows you on the screen what you're actually controlling and changing. And I really, really like this system. I find it really intuitive. And the screen in this car is not too bad either. For 15-year-old technology, it's not that bad. And this is kind of really important because you can't really adjust your climate control without going into the screen. Something else that I really like is that when you press buttons in this car, they're really clicky. Listen to this. It gives you that tactile feeling and you know that you actually pressed something. Now, here's another quirk of the infotainment. If you press this open button right here, then 2 SD card slots pop out. And I guess Audi at the time was phasing out CDs and they thought that SDs would be the new way to play music in your car. Honestly, they weren't far off because burning CDs was annoying as hell and just dragging your music onto your SD card was probably a lot better back when Bluetooth wasn't mainstream. By the way, on these cars, you could specify a Bang & Olufsen sound system, and in this car, it sounds absolutely amazing. There are speakers everywhere in this interior and it just gets really loud if you want it to. It's really nice if you want to play the music for your whole neighborhood to listen to. Okay, now here's something that I really like about this car. In order to start it, all you have to do is put your foot on the clutch and then just insert your key right here and press it firmly. And the car starts right up. I really like this feature because BMWs from this era had a very similar key, but you would have to press it inside and then you'd have to press a start button separately. This is just a 2-in-1 motion. Press it and it works. You use the key as the actual start button. And something else that I really like in these cars is that when you start the car, it does this little gauge sweep. Watch this. You can see how the car sweeps the gauges all the way up to 280, which kind of checks if the gauges work. And it's just a really nice detail from Audis of this era. Okay, now here are 2 parts of this car that I really don't like. And number 1 is that this car had cruise control, but it was optional. And it was supposed to be a stock coming out of here, but this car doesn't have it. And this was a feature that basically really needed to be standard on this car. Every single car has cruise control. Your Toyota Corolla has a cruise control. And it just makes this car feel a bit dumb in 2023 without cruise control. Okay, so the second thing I don't like about the A5 are the back seats, which are just horrendously small. You can barely pass something over to put it in the back, and I'll just try to get into the rear seats now and let's see how it is. Now, here's what you do if you want to get into the back of the A5. You pull this latch right here, and then there's this really nice electronic switch which you press to move the seat forward. Okay, so the front seat is as forward as it gets, and getting inside, it's not very graceful, especially as someone who is a bit taller, on the taller side. And when you put the seat back, my knees really don't fit in here, and my head definitely doesn't fit in here. It's just kind of too small. I think probably around 5'10" is the limit for this car. If you're any above 5'10", you're not gonna have a fun time. But it is really nice because right here there's an ashtray for the rear passengers, and there's also this really nice cup holder right here. You press it and it pops open. Again, classic Audi design, really nice, but nobody will ever be here, hopefully. And of course, getting out is pretty much as graceful as you'd expect. Now let's just check out the trunk situation on the A5, and what I really like is that you can open it with a key. If you just hold this button, it pops open automatically, and you can of course do that also from the driver's footwell. And once we get into the trunk, it's actually a pretty big trunk, and you can see that there's even a ski pass-through right here, and the rear seats are split 60-40. You can drop them both down, and you can probably transport a really large object like a TV or something in here. You can even unlatch the rear seats from here, but you have to be pretty long to be able to fold them down from here. And when you do end up folding them down, this is pretty much the space you're working with. Okay, so those are the interior quirks of the A5, and now let's hear this 2.0 TFSI engine, and let's see how this car sounds. Okay, so this is a stock exhaust, and we're just gonna start the car up. Okay, and let's just give it a bit of revs. That sounds really good. Okay, now let's drive the A5 2.0 TFSI. Okay, so first impressions, everything in here is just really, really sporty. I think sportiness is kind of the point of this car. The shifter feels really nice. It's very short, throwy. I know it's not a gated manual, but it definitely feels like one. And right now we're entering the school zone, and in my 2001 BMW, I just clicked the cruise control button, but here, there's nothing I can do. All right, so let's just give it a bit of beans, not too much. Amazing, amazing. Now the red line here is at, I think, around 7,000 RPM, and only at around like 3,000 does the car actually get to sound amazing with the turbo. Okay, so we're coming up on the bridge. Let's see what this car can do. Not too bad on the bridge. I think the thing with this car is in the manual, maybe it's not like this on the 7-speed, the S-Tronic, the dual clutch, but here the gears are really long. And by the time you get to red line in first, you're already going like, I don't know, 60 or something. And I think at this point I say this about every car, but it really, really grips the road. I don't think I could be able to do this in my car at this speed. This car right now has the 17-inch winter wheels. The ride quality is amazing. The grip quality is amazing. It's kind of like a rocket, kind of like a spaceship. The only downside of this car is that at times you really feel like you need the quattro. You feel like those front wheels they're just not holding it up. There's 260 horsepower that's making them move. They're really being used for all they have. For the stock 2.8 horsepower that this thing has, it's probably not that bad with just a front wheel drive, but the 260, if you're planning to give it a tune or anything, maybe even remove the downpipe, have a straight pipe or something like that, definitely want the quattro. Holy moly. It's kind of crazy. All right, here goes the bridge again. Let's see what we can do here. You know, in my Mercedes review, I said, well, this car is good. You're not afraid to overtake someone. If I saw this thing behind me, I'd be scared. It's overtaking me already. It's so sad that by the time you get to this turbo actually like working, you're probably already going too fast. It's not bad. It's not bad. I've been driving this car for quite some time now, and I still haven't touched 5th or 6th gear. Whoever designed this car was an absolute madman. Okay, so that right there was the Audi A5 2.0 TFSI. It's definitely an amazing sports car and it's very underrated. And of course, it's gonna get a 10 out of 10 on the market score. If you're thinking about buying one, you should just go and get it. And I just wanna thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.